This is the Into The Paddock Podcast.
The news broke shortly after the Grand Prix of Long Beach that Team Penske's Joseph Newgarden and Scott McLaughlin were being disqualified from the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg that happened at the start of March. This was due to push-to-pass irregularities. So what essentially happened was, in IndyCar, the push-to-pass regulations don't allow you to use it on the first lap of a race or on the first lap of a restart. McLaughlin and Newgarden had used push-to-pass in these areas where it's meant to be disabled. So you would ask, well, how did they use it? This all comes from IndyCar's testing of the hybrid power unit that's going to be coming in whenever it comes in, because it keeps getting delayed, where the way the push-to-pass is used is coded slightly differently. Penske allege that due to this testing, they had left the code in that allows them more free reign over when they use push-to-pass. They'd accidentally left it on the car for the race, and that had enabled Scott and Joseph to use it. What they decided to do was disqualify Joseph Newgarden, who won the race in St. Petersburg, and Scott McLaughlin, who finished third. They also penalised Will Power with only a loss of 10 points because he hadn't actually used it. Whilst he had the capability of using it in the illegal circumstances, he didn't actually use it. So they only demoted him 10 points.
Joseph Newgarden decided to have a whole IndyCar media all hands on deck 30-minute, impassioned declaration that he has integrity, he didn't mean to cheat, and that he's severely disappointed in himself and that it happened, and all that kind of stuff, like trying to reaffirm his integrity as a race car driver and as a man, versus Scott McLaughlin and Will Power just put out really short Twitter statements saying, we're really disappointed with the penalties, nothing we can do about it, we accept them and move on. So you can see that all the backlash that we've seen has been towards Newgarden. All the other drivers, like you'll get onto, say, I don't believe you because your story makes zero sense. It's the most convoluted thing I've ever heard as a veteran of the sport. Versus Scotty Mack and Will Power, like, okay, yeah, they put their hands up. They said, yep. It reminds me a lot of the baseball steroid scandals that popped up 20 years ago. You had a bunch of players like Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, like they fought tooth and nail to defend their name. Like, oh, I'd never do steroids. My integrity is too strong as a competitor, yada, yada, yada. But then the people who just put their hands up said, yep, I did it. Everyone just treats them the same. Like, think Andy Pettit, he just said, yep, I did it. I'm sorry. And then he got left the F alone. Everyone else still hates Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds to this day because they denied it. So it just shows, like, whenever you're in this kind of situation, if you just say, yep, I did it, and then move on, that's kind of the best course of action, whether it's truthful or not. Just a short, sweet, simple, yep, acknowledge it, accept the consequences, and move along. That's the best way.
And what didn't help was that McLaughlin and Power's statements seemed to contradict what Newgarden said. So Newgarden was said that he and the number 2 crew were under the belief that the rules had changed, allowing them to use push-to-pass in these situations, despite the fact that there has been no rule changes made which could possibly be misinterpreted in that way. Meanwhile, McLaughlin and Power McLaughlin directly said that he was unaware of the change of the code, was unaware that they were allowed to use it in this situation, which they're not, and that he hit the button simply out of habit. I would agree with that because people have gone back and looked at prior races and seen that both McLaughlin and Newgarden and other drivers do hit the button out of habit. Like they will press it whenever they feel to use it. There isn't a set strategy for when you use push to pass. It's left in the driver's hands.
Yeah.
So it's I think they I don't remember which race they used as an example, but I think Newgarden used push to pass, like press the button out of habit, and it didn't work like 27 times in a race. So that is a logical explanation. However, Newgarden's, I don't understand how you could get yourself wound up into that corner where everyone on the one team believes the rule to be different to what everybody else thinks. Though, and then for the 3 and the 12 teams who didn't have this argument to seemingly not think the rules had changed, how does that end up happening? Especially when Tim Cindric I don't remember. Is he team manager or chief strategist now?
Oh, he's both. He's the president of Penske Racing, and he's the chief strategist for Josef Newgarden.
Yeah, even more so then. Like he surely, if one side believes one thing, then all of them are going to believe it. Like you could see one team getting confused, maybe, but not one car from one team of three. It just doesn't. This is the thing. So even though the facts are that we know it happened and we know what happened, but we don't know why. And I don't think, truthfully, we're ever going to really find out exactly the intent behind it and how it happened. I'm still trying to decide whether I believe that this was deliberate or not. Because as Newgarden said in his very long, pretty self-damning press conference, it's a wild set of circumstances that he even said, I wouldn't believe it. But it is possible. You know, they said that in the booth, Townsend Bell, I think, was very vocal on the fact that, while it doesn't seem believable, but it's absolutely possible. And the thing that I keep coming back to is, why would they try and cheat this when it's so easy to be caught doing? But then I think, well, it took them 45 days and a glitch in a warm-up session to find it, so is it really that easy? I genuinely don't know what to think about their intentions regarding this still.
This is the Into the Paddock Podcast.